Good to go.
This is Herb Erico, Chairman of the Wellington Board of Education, and I'm going to call our Tuesday, June 8th, 2021 meeting to order. This is a virtual meeting, and we have an agenda, and the first item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. So if everyone would stand, we will pledge the allegiance to the flag. Okay, I pledge allegiance
To the flag
to the flag
of the United States of America,
America,
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is the present to speak. Phil, do we have anyone listed?
So anybody that's not on camera, which is actually everybody except for the board, except for my administrators, you should be able to unmute yourself if you want to speak. Just have to identify it yourself if you are not on camera. All right, last chance. Anybody that's not on camera, if you want to speak for present to speak, now's the time. You can unmute yourself and just identify yourself. I just realized I don't have my host this evening as well. It's just me. All right, Herb, I think you're good.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Chairman's report. And I've got a couple of comments I would like to make. I want to say that this has been the most surreal and challenging academic year that any of us probably have experienced in a long time. The COVID-19 pandemic and the consequences it will have on our school system probably will be felt for many years to come. The Wellington Public Schools, however, has much to be grateful for. If we look back over the year, we opened safely and put in place numerous safeguards to ensure the good health and safety of our students and our staff and faculty. And I'm sure that everyone is, including the board, is very proud to be part of the Wellington school system that has worked very hard to prepare and made it possible for our students to pursue their education and development in a thriving and sustainable environment, which we have done this year. We've been very fortunate. As board members, I mean, we're winding down the year right now, and we'll be graduating some of our students, but as board members, we must now think and prepare for the next phase of students returning to school and thinking of next fall. And I'm sure our superintendent has already put things in place for that. There's recognition that the needs of the students and their families are unprecedented and require a lot of intentional planning to ensure the educational, emotional, and social needs of our students, make sure that they're adequately addressed next year. So it looks like the board always has a lot on its plate and has a lot of things that we're doing, but uh, we do have quite a few things now and into the future that we have to take care of. The next item on the agenda is the communications, and Phil, I haven't received any communications from
No, I
any.
don't have any communications to the board. Just what I have is from,
That's a written communication.
correct.
Um, So if you don't have any, we'll move on to item 5 on our agenda, which is superintendent's report,
Absolutely.
A through I. And I'm not going to read each one of them at this time. We don't seem to have too many people present to speak. So Phil, can you start off with your staff update?
Absolutely. So we had 3 paraprofessional resignations. Andrew Hurd, one of our paras, took a teaching job in New York City. Sarah Jean resigned, and Lynn Philippi is retiring. Lynn's been in Wellington since 1990, a long, long time. She's done a fabulous job with our students, and I'm just speaking about her just because her time and experience in my direct work with her at Center School. She's just been a real asset to our school district. And so obviously they're all going to be missed. We wish them a successful future, and happy retirement to Lynn Philippi. I wish her the best. The next item that's on there is WEA, the WEA MOU. I just wanted to let you know that they voted to approve their 3-year contract extension, and it was extended through June 2025. And Herb has signed that, and you voted on it, so it's all good to go. But thanks to the committee members for their work through that process. I think it's beneficial for all parties. The budget referendum is that item C. It's today. It's still going on. People have about 52 minutes to go out and vote. So we'll see if it gets a little loud in this building. We'll see. I'll let you know the results once I see them, if they're posted. Our enrollment update. Our current enrollment at Center School is 214 students. We have 202 students learning on campus and 12 students, which is 6%, learning fully remote. Our current enrollment at Hall is 192 students. We have 172 students that are on campus, and we only have 20 students currently that are fully remote at Hall. That's 10%. So our average right now, we have 8% of our students that are still fully remote. We sent out a letter, and we did have quite a few families come back. And I think the group that's still out will obviously remain out. We only have a couple weeks left. The item E, COVID-19 school operations. I jinxed myself. I told you, I said it last time. We did have a COVID case in the district in the last month, but obviously, things are going well. We're continuing our mitigation strategies that are in place. They'll stay the same through the end of the year. If you've seen the press, New York tried to make some changes, and it backed up really fast. CDC jumped in. So we'll see where any of these mitigation strategies continue in the future. The reopening committee did meet yesterday to review a draft of our reopening plan, which is called the Continuity of Services Plan. That's for the fall. It is due soon, ironically, to the state. So we've been plugging along on it. I'll give you a preview of that later on in the agenda. As we are wrapping up the school year, as Herb mentioned, obviously we're facilitating our events with safe measures in place. Last week we had a successful outdoor band concert. It was like seating in the lawn, socially distanced, and it was fantastic. So things are moving along. And then the last thing I'll say about the COVID kind of maintenance of our school operations, we did have an early release day for heat yesterday and today, and it's COVID related because it was 83 degrees in the Hall School classrooms at 7:30 this morning. So you can imagine the heat with your mask on, which they're required to wear. It makes for a long day. So we had emergency early dismissals yesterday and today, and we have a minimum day already scheduled, which is in the calendar for tomorrow. We're just hoping this heat stays away for the rest of the time, because it is tough to learn in those conditions. Item F is the center school and hall school roof replacement. I sent the communication out to you about this. We had our meeting with Office of School Construction Grants and Review last week. It took 3 hours just to get through the documentation for hall school. And then they told us to schedule a second meeting for center because we had gone so long already. That is going to happen early next week, the center school review. The OSCGR staff basically said to us, finish the process, the approval process, which we're almost done with, and complete the projects next summer. They're not going to release our construction bid letters for us. They're going to wait to see what happens if there's a construction project or not. And so they did the positive piece that came out of that. They did tell us that we're very likely to see cost reductions. They said people that have all their paperwork done early, which we obviously do, that when you put out the bid requests, the proposals in the early spring, the early bird gets the best deals. That would be Wellington. The reason for that is the companies that are doing the construction work on the roofs are trying to book their summers, and they're trying to be aggressive. So I thought that was a positive that came out of that. And that would be in the summer of 22. So there's the update on that. So we're hoping for an aggressive bid when that comes around. Item G is the E-rate wireless infrastructure project. I just wanted to make you aware of this, and I mentioned this. We're utilizing federal funding to replace our wireless infrastructure in both center and hall schools. It's the majority of our equipment is original. We completed all the paperwork through E-rate. It's connected to some grants that we have. It's federal dollars. We're on track for a summer 2021 this summer installation. We're working with Novus to do all that work, and the company that won the bid through the grant process. A large portion of the current wireless system is no longer supported by the manufacturer. So updates, crashes, things like that, that's one of the main reasons that this has got to get done. And that project will be fully funded by grants that we have written. So that's a big deal. It's over an $80,000 project.
How many, Phil, how many handheld telephones will we have under this wireless?
Well, it's not the phones. This basically just is what allows us to have our students have wireless access to their Chromebooks and their iPads. So we're 1-to-1 in the district. Basically, we have enough devices in the district pre-K through 8th grade. And so we'll have, I believe it's about 60, what I'll call a hotspot or a drop. We'll have about 60 of those installed, and they basically do a heat map is what they call it. And they look to make sure there's proper coverage in each area of the building. So that will happen this summer.
That'll be in both buildings or just hall school?
Both buildings.
Both buildings.
Correct.
It's going to be quite a job, isn't it, in hall school?
It is. They can use a lot of the wiring that's in place and they can test the cables. So if there's anything that's bad, they can replace it. We have a couple classrooms for whatever reason that just drop sometimes. I have an office that's like that. So the group that was with me yesterday experienced that. It happens. And so we want to make sure that our connectivity is really strong for all of our students and our staff. Item H, the Office of School Construction Staff visit. I shared this out to the director of the Office of School Construction Grants and Review, OSCGR, Costa Diamantis. He attended a walkthrough at Hall School on Monday, May 17th. It was requested by the school building committee. And during the walkthrough, he asked about the status of our roofing project. And that's when he learned we had our initial commitment project numbers, and he's just said halt the process that's connected to his walkthrough. And basically what he thought was it was a waste of tax dollars, both state and local, if we were to put a roof on both buildings new and then still while we were considering a school building project. And so that was one of his reasons behind it, because obviously, and we've talked about this in the board level, that you'd have to pay those dollars back, which is significant. He also, during the walkthrough, stated that he would not support a renovation of either building. He's just said the age of these buildings and the number of students we have, it just did not make sense. He is going to be attending the next school building committee meeting on Wednesday, June 16th at 6:30 p.m. And there will be, it is the school building committee. He will he'll answer questions from the school building committee first, and then it will be opened up to the public for anyone that wants to ask questions. I will tell you that he's pretty blunt. He tells you exactly what he thinks and what he'll approve. And he is the undersecretary to the Department of Administrative Services, and he's the director of the school construction grants office. So he's the guy that approves the dollars. And if he wants to stop something, Michelle's smirking because I think she probably has dealings with him. The buck stops with him. If he wants to stop a process or money, he feels like he's the person that does that to protect the taxpayer in the state. So that's the story with that. The item I is the promotion ceremony. The 8th grade promotion ceremony is scheduled for Friday, June 18th. It's going to be held outdoors. There's a rain date of Monday, June 21st. MK and her team have been cranking along to make sure our students and families have a good experience. I believe you all got invitations. If not, they are coming. I'm not sure if they went out yet to you or not, but they will be. It is going to be a shorter ceremony than typical years, just because of COVID still, just trying to make sure we move through. We're trying to maintain as many of the traditions as we can, but it will be outside. It is going to be in person, which is fantastic. And masks will be required at that event simply because it's a requirement of the state right now. Any school events, you have to have masks. That's my superintendent report. Any questions on any of those items? Elena has her hand up, Herb.
Elena?
Yes, Elena Testa. Quick question. When is the last day of school?
June 21st. It is a Monday. It is a half day. That is day 177, which is the minimum number of days we have to go to school.
That's for both schools, for Central and for the whole.
Correct.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, some people are getting out already. They must have started earlier than us.
Phil, are the students given 2 invitations?
MK4?
Is it 4?
Students are allowed 4 guests. We have set up a Google form with guests registering with their phone numbers just in case of contact tracing. If a student is not using all 4 of their tickets, we have a waiting list in the office for families that are larger that will require more. We have in our seating, we are going to be allocating spacing for each family so that we can account for and have social distancing between people of different households.
Okay, so they have to bring their own seating.
Yes, we are having them bring their own chairs because the chairs that we have that we could put out may be unstable on the grass, and we don't want anybody toppling over or being unsafe.
It worked very well for the band concert, I will say.
Is some of it going to be roped off for people entering, or are they going to enter from any location?
We are going to have a check-in station where we will check people off when they enter and make sure that they, that those who registered and signed up are those that are there. It'll be one access point for people to enter And then our newly formed student leadership group is going to be serving as ushers, bringing families to seating locations with programs.
Thank you. Sounds like you're pretty well organized there.
A lot of discussions, MK, right? A lot of discussions, a lot of planning.
Well,
Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Mary and Phil. We're going to move along on our financial report. We have the June budget update. I don't know whether every board member received this on time. It was emailed to everyone, and it has a percent remaining, percent Phil.
Yeah, so I made the notes in here, and we have every grant now that is applied to this budget, ESSER 1, ESSER 2, ESSER 3, Title 1, Title 2, Title 3, Title 4, REAP grant, all of the grants that we have, IDEA for special ed, they're all applied now. And so you can see minimal change since your last report in program 1, program 2, program 3. There's minimal change in program 4. And again, we did receive our diesel credit. Program 5 and 6, again, minimal change. Same note on program 7 as far as the heating oil overage. And again, we're running our air handling units nonstop, which has caused that was an issue. And then program 8, we have now applied the ESSER 1 funds. So that's bounced back some. And program 9, ESSER 2 funds have been applied. So that's bounced back. And then the fringe has been reconciled after new staffing changes. What I am going to tell you is what you see in front of you for a balance is not going to remain. As my administrative group knows, and my groups that I've been talking with, nurses, custodians, teachers, we've compiled lists of things that I've held because I wanted to make sure that we had appropriate funding because of the COVID things that were going on, no matter what it was. And so over the next week or two, I'm going to be fulfilling some of those budgetary requests. And again, I waited on some of these, a lot of these. Requests include ventilation repairs, plumbing repairs, additional BCBA hours, software for our school nurses. We need some fireproof cabinets to store files, which is a requirement. Library furniture, we have door locks that have fallen disrepair that we're going to get fixed. Water fountains that have water bottle filling stations. A lot of those items that are not $50 items that we've held on to. That is my first big round of items. I'll tell you that will, I have about $200,000 worth of items right now that I've held, and that's about what will be, the budget will reduce by. And then the other, and again, the supplies were in pretty good shape for the year, and that's because of the significant COVID funds we received. I will tell you the other big thing that I'm working with Novus on right now that we're looking at are smart boards that, and Laura, you were probably here when this happened, when the original smart boards came in around 2004. They're still here. And, you know, we're surprised they've lasted that long. So I've been working with Novus trying to come up with some different options. And it might be a year to buy 5 or 6 or thereabouts of those boards to start replacing some of those original boards. We have replaced a few as they've broken, but they're not cheap. We're talking $3,000 plus a board. And so I've been working with Novus to try and identify some of those things. You know, the board may get an email from me at some point to say, it looks like there's enough to do a lot of these. It would require you to have a special meeting just to approve that. But I'm just giving you a heads up that the things that we're spending on right now, I don't want it to appear like that I'm going on a spending spree. I've been holding these things for months. Amy Redding gave me library furniture right off the get-go, and library furniture that can be cleaned. And that is really, really important right now going into next year and into the future. And those are things that we're looking at. So just an FYI that though tonight you see $500,000 there, it's not real. A lot of that's going to be spent. I will tell you though, we will be returning some money. I do believe that, I would say a fair estimate at this point is that you're looking at least $100,000 that you're going to be returning, at least.
Okay.
Ann has her hand up. Herb?
Okay. Will you have the opportunity to use the professional development money? Can you use that for staff development?
We have a lot of it right now in grants, and that's the thing that's, where we've written some of these grants and we've had the PD money. It's been utilized through that and more than enough. And again, I've said this before, it's a funny issue to have. A lot of things are still free. They're good. They're free things right now because people have been generous during COVID. People haven't been able to get out as much and do some of these workshops out of district. And so I do think that's going to ramp back up next year. But I can't guarantee that we're going to use all of those specific dollars, but you'll have to make some transfers, I think, to be able to level these programs out. It just depends on where the need is.
Right.
Whole school shows $9,000 left. Well, I can tell you right now that 3 water fountains are going to cost you $9,000. So, we're going to have to make some adjustments to get into, to back some of those things up. And we'll zero out those lines, but you'll be able to see, again, in the end of the year report, where money was transferred to and from and why.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a question.
Okay, go ahead, Donna.
Phil, you mentioned that the air handling units are basically on nonstop. Are they being looked at regularly just to make sure that they're still in good shape and that they're being properly maintained so we don't have an issue with any of them?
Yes. So a part of our preventative maintenance contracts with MCOR, they check on them a certain number of times per year. That is one of their primary things they look at. And one of the things that I just said we were going to spend some money on, the air handling units, and I've been in Jan Castle's room right now. There's in center school, there's the one in the kindergarten room. I walked in and they're not teaching in there right now, and there's no way they could teach in that classroom next year without fixing those air handling units. And they're old. They're in our CIP plan from the standpoint of they need to be replaced. They're in the MCOR book. So those will be replaced. And then they do the inspections on all of those other reports, on all the other units. Sorry.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You want me to move on to the security grant?
Go ahead.
So I think this is due in the next couple of weeks. We're working on a school security grant. It will impact both schools. We met with a security team. We've completed an updated, it's like 500 items. It's a school security checklist. It covers loads of things. We identified some things specifically around door access, fobs, doors that don't have access. You can't buzz in, doors that don't have cameras that you can see when you buzz in. Those were all identified. So we're looking to request those funds for those items. And I'll let you know how that goes. I don't know if we'll get it or not, but we're surely going to ask because we've identified it. And if we don't, it's something that we should consider moving forward if we're going to stay in our buildings in our CIP plan. So that's coming up. And then ESSER 3, the American Recovery Act. The curriculum committee and policy committee, you've already seen this. You had a chance to review information pertaining to the addition of a 3-year limited term director of curriculum instruction. I'm really advocating for this position using these funds. It's about $577,000. This position would not utilize every dollar of those funds, but it takes up a good chunk of it. We have some specific, really specific needs in this district around curriculum. We've had them for a while. The curriculum committee has heard this. The policy committee saw the job description. You've both seen that now. I've recently had some conversations with parents around, and Tracy, you'll appreciate this, around science and social studies, and in particular, this amount of time we have science. We need to look at all those things, and the curriculum is the core of what you do. If you have a strong curriculum, you are more likely to have stronger outcomes. And I think right now our curriculum needs some serious love. We have tried to make the attempts over the last few years to get some things done. It just doesn't happen on $1,000 stipend. And so this limited term position would allow us to go through every curriculum and identify needs and talk to E.O. Smith and Wyndham Tech and say, where do you see our kids coming in? We want the data from them. I've talked to the superintendent already at E.O. Smith about getting grades for the freshmen, and we could easily do this without their names on them. I don't want their names because they can't release the data. But if we can see their grades and see how our students land after their freshman year, I think that would be good data, and see that historical data. So just getting some of that information. But the ESSER 3 grant, the core of that grant is going to be the Director of Curriculum Instruction. And we'll revisit that again tonight when we get to the job description and the admin MOU. Oh, I meant to say, sorry, the reopening committee did mention some things yesterday too, and shared some ideas. So we'll see where that goes.
Okay. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll move to the committee reports. The curriculum committee met on June 1st. I believe Laura, Ann, and Tracy are members of that committee, and also I guess some of the staff met. And address the social emotional learning curriculum for purchase, and also the director of curriculum. Now this appears on the agenda later, Phil. Maybe we can address it at that time if you want.
Yeah, I don't know if they have anything to add or not. I would think they would add it at the bottom. I agree.
Okay, if not, also the policy committee met, and the policy committee is made up of Ann, Herb, and Elena, and review the regulations for school facilities, and also review the director of curriculum instruction policy. And that comes up later on the agenda also. The school security committee, I don't know who's on that committee, Phil. We have
Michelle.
a committee, but I guess you have another committee.
That one's Michelle.
Michelle?
I think everything that the committee discussed was in Phil's report.
Agreed.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to new business. We have A, B, C, up to H. I would suggest that we approve A, B, C, and D together as one policy, one motion, and then the others we will discuss individually. Michelle?
I move that we approve the minutes of our regular meeting from May 11th, 2021, the minutes from the special Board of Ed meeting from June 1st, 2021, the minutes from the June 1st, 2021 curriculum committee meeting, and the June 4th, 2021 policy committee meeting.
Second that, Laura.
Okay, Laura seconded. Any discussion to the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye, and just raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion is passed. We are now down to item E, which is the Director of Curriculum and Instruction job description. And I think this, the job description was emailed to everyone. I don't know whether everyone got a chance to read it.
Yeah, this is the curriculum committee and the policy committee have seen this. I think I'm missing one person that hasn't seen it yet. You have the ability tonight to, this is my snapshot, real quick statement about this is that there is in the policy, there's a job description for Marsha McGinley as People Service Director. There's a job description for principals. There's a job description for superintendent's position. And then adding an admin position, we would need to add a job description. This has gone through several committees now and feedback. It's also gone through my admin team, and we've gone through this. So you could either approve as policy tonight, or you could wait and do it next meeting. If you do it next meeting, I would just kind of want your simple nod that I could post this position and get moving, because I need to write it into the grant.
I have a question, Phil.
No, go ahead.
So when I do job descriptions and I know it's going to be temporary, I write that in, but I'm not working in a unionized setting. I'm not sure where I know you would, of course, include that in the posting, but I wasn't sure if it made sense to put that in multiple places so there's no confusion.
It's in the MOU, but I think we should put it in this. That's it. I'll just put limited term, and I'll put the exact year.
Perfect.
Phil, do we have a code number for that?
It said locator 2.02. That's what the other ones were. It was like 2.01. So I was going to leave that to Brenda, to be honest with you. There's an admin section of the policy.
Okay, does anyone have any questions regarding the director? This is a new position, incidentally.
Correct. And this is the position that would be
It's an administrative position.
Yep, fully funded by the ESSER 3 grant, benefits and salary for 3 full years.
So I have a question, because I'm not on one of the committees that have seen this before.
Donna, go ahead.
So professional development and knowledge. If we're hiring somebody for a very specific job, like developing our curriculum, they should already, we shouldn't be training them. We shouldn't be developing them. They should already be developed to do the job. It's a short-term job. This isn't like we're taking a brand new teacher out of college and moving that individual up through our processes where they go from being a brand new teacher to a teacher that is supervising brand new teachers. So they should already be professionally developed. They should already be staying up on top of all this stuff, because this is a technical job. This isn't that you're teaching teachers. If you are teaching teachers and you're developing curriculum, you'd better already know your stuff before you walk through the door. Not to say that they shouldn't be researching and looking into things if there's something particularly unique to Wellington, but they shouldn't be learning in our time, as far as that goes.
Do you see something in there that you're looking at specifically?
Point F. Perfect. So attending professional meetings, it doesn't say this is on their own time or they should already know this stuff. As a person who doesn't go through this process, I'm looking at it and saying, oh, you're going to include all sorts of professional development for me if I were to apply for this job.
Yeah, that is 100% contractual. So it's limited in the admin contract to a certain number of days or dollars. But I agree, it's just continued growth, but it's something that gets written into a job description, but it's not the primary. We expect when we hire someone especially for this position, that they have some experience with curriculum work already. This can't be the first go around for someone, that they have some sort of level of experience with curriculum.
So it'll be up and running when they come in for the job, really. But as you said, it's in the contract anyway, so they are entitled to it under the administrative contract.
That's
Can it
correct.
be Limited? Like, does
Oh,
it,
it's not unlimited. No.
no, I mean, do you say, is this totally subject to your discretion, I guess is the best way I would feel more comfortable with it.
So it is limited in the contract for the number of days and dollars, and I have to approve everything. So when Marcia McGinley sends me a request to go to Aruba or a workshop on dyslexia, I have the ability to deny it. And if Marcia does it on her own, she's paying for it herself, and she's got to use the days. So I can deny, but I also have the ability, this is purely an example, just as wild as the first one, because Marcia wouldn't ask me to go there. But if Marcia said, or if I identified a need for Marcia, during her evaluation, and we were talking, and she said, I really want to learn more about this. We're going to have a student coming in with this disability. I don't have experience with that. And I saw a workshop, I could ask Marcia to go to that workshop. And so that's the collaboration, the give and take, that we work with each other. And we want to make sure the person has the expertise for what they're doing. I would like someone to have some general expertise in curriculum, because the models that you may see in reading and language arts may look significantly different than what you're doing in a math curriculum. And so we want to make sure that we have someone that has kind of a global approach and can apply all those things in their knowledge, and really, quite honestly, the knowledge of their peers and their colleagues, to write a very rigorous curriculum for our students.
We can't expect this curriculum to be done in a month or 2 months, or this is a 2 or 3 year project. But the curriculum that are developed, they're going to develop English curriculum, math, social studies.
All of them. They're responsible for every curriculum we have in district.
Yeah, but they'll be meeting with the teachers and with staff.
Absolutely.
With you, they'll probably, before it comes to the board, you probably will go to the curriculum committee for review. So there's quite a process involved here.
You are correct. And the curriculum committee will have some work to do over the next 3 years if this gets approved. So
yeah, but we're not going to get it all of a sudden placed in the lap. It's going to be over a period of time.
That's correct.
May I ask another question?
Anna, was it Anna or
It was Donna who wanted to ask.
Donna?
Have you already identified areas of weakness in all the curriculums so that they don't have this person does not have to discover that, I don't want to fill in the blank with anything particular, that none of the third graders can read by the end of third grade any better than when they walked in the door. If there's something that's out there, so that they already have a list of, here's our struggle areas, this is what's working well, so that they don't necessarily have to reinvent everything, even though they may re-examine everything.
Yes, that's where I think our staff is spot on right now. We can identify, we know, wow, we have an area of weakness, and we're using a specific program and it doesn't cover phonological awareness as well as we wish it did. And so we plug the hole. That's the stuff that's got to get written down on paper. We have the Common Core, but we need someone to pull this all together. If I hire a brand new teacher, I need the person to be able to come in and see the curriculum and to be able to follow it step by step and know there's a scope and sequence and progression all the way through from kindergarten to 8th grade, other than the standards, because that's a lot of what we see right now. But yes, Donna, they'll evaluate our data, but I'm going to have some really strict timelines on this position. Just like when you hire a principal or a superintendent, any administrator, typically you have a 100-day plan. This person's going to have a 100-day plan, and I'm going to hold them to it. Look at you having your first 15 days. You're going to meet with all the staff members. You're going to hear their feedback. You're going to start identifying those things and hear what they have to say. It's going to be quite a process, and it's going to be an intense 3 years. We'll work more days than any other administrator under my wings. And the reason for that is because, number one, we have the funds to do it. And number two, we just need to get this done. We need to pay for the work and let them write and bring it to the board and get it published. And look, we need it out there for our parents too. We need it on our website. That's going to be part of that requirement for me in that 3-year period. What do I expect as a superintendent? I expect to see curriculum heading on our website and a parent to be able to click on it and go, this is what the 5th grade social studies curriculum looks like. Right now, they can't do that. We have it, but it's not there. It's not as cohesive and clear in writing as it should be. And those are things that we want to clear up.
And will there be some sort of strict review date? You know, you think somebody's going to be the shining star, and after 30 days, you realize that, you know, they're underwater.
Yes, they have. There's a certain number of days for any educational position that you can dismiss someone for a particular reason. I hope that we can do a better job in hiring. That won't happen.
We'd hope so, but I just wouldn't want to be stuck with somebody who really isn't up to the job.
Yeah, and this is where
not get what we paid for.
This is where I'm really transparent too. Look at when we interview people and I walk with people through our buildings, I'm going to tell them exactly what this job is. And I've been very clear about this when I've talked about this. This is a time-sensitive job. You have 3 years to get every piece of curriculum through the Board of Education onto the website and approved, and then have set a very specific timeline for review. So when that person walks out the door, Mary Kay now has a very specific job, and Rich has a very specific job. And going through the process and following the revision process so we can continue to update. Because what's happened over the last 10 years is we changed to Common Core and then there was no revision. We were writing, but we just couldn't write fast enough, and we need to get everything down. And then when that person leaves, we truly believe our administrators will be able to follow that revision process, and it's going to have to be built in. And we may have to pay more for those stipends to make sure that process happens in the future.
From what you say, this is a massive job and a lot of work and in detail, and it's going to take quite a while. And when I was thinking about this, this is an administrative position, and will it require additional staff like a secretary to, it would seem to me that whoever we hire could use a secretary to do a lot of the paperwork and preparation, keeping things on, maybe even putting things on the website for us so we can see it. But we didn't think of that, did we?
We don't, I did not want to spend money through this grant on an administrative assistant. Typically an admin would have their own. I think we have to be creative of how we use our current staff. You know, we have some, you know, you look at Nicole Page, who's at the middle school, and she does all the work for maintenance. She does all the POs, purchase orders, and requisitions for maintenance for both buildings. She puts items on the website. So we just have to utilize the remainder of our staff. But I think the bulk of this work is going to be meeting with staff and writing and sitting in front of you folks. So good question, though.
Okay. We need approval for this. This is an action item, isn't it?
That's up to you. If you want to approve it tonight, I would appreciate that. I think it's been through the ringer. I don't know if Anna has a question, but she has her hand up.
Yeah.
May I make a motion?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. I move that we approve the position of Director of Curriculum Instruction and the job description and also the policy at this point. Are we ready for that? The policy change?
You're basically approving it if you put the policy into place. So you're approving that job description, which is your policy.
Okay.
Thank you, Ann. Who seconded?
Tracy Anderson.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm using my daughter's computer. I just realized my name is different on there.
Yes, no. Okay. The picture I have up is not that clear right now, so
Oh, sorry about that.
that's better. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? The
I,
mo-
I abstained.
Okay, one abstention.
Elena Testa.
Donna Cook.
And Donna, you're abstaining too? Okay. The
So
motion,
two abstained, Elena Testa and Donna, yes?
Gotcha. Thank you.
okay, the motion's passed. And moving on to the memorandum of understanding for the Wellington Board of Education and the Wellington Public School Administration Association.
Yeah, so this is the MOU that basically goes along with, I worked with the admin team and they've already agreed that they would sign this. They support this position. This basically just, this letter would get added to their contract. The person would follow the admin contract and the MOU basically just identifies the standards that go along with it. And the salary range is based upon, we've spent some time over the last couple years figuring out people's per diem, what they make per day. And this salary range fits in with the number of days that is required of an administrator for this contract. And that's why you see the number of days in the salary.
So they'll be with us for 2 or 3 years. And any increase that the administrators receive during that time would be above whatever the starting figure is. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, I don't know if everyone has a copy of the memorandum of agreement, but it just explains the relationship between the Wellington Board and the Wyndham Public School Administrators Association. The work year is 216 days with a possible additional 4 days on top of that. And the salary range is 110,000 to 120,000. And that will be negotiated by Phil when he meets with the candidate.
Based on experience.
Now, do we have a motion on this one?
Michelle has her hand up.
Michelle,
Michelle Cunningham, I move that we approve the memorandum of agreement between the Wellington Board of Education and the Wellington Public Schools Administrators Association.
thank you. We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it. Ann Grosjean?
And seconded. Any discussion concerning the memorandum of agreement?
I have a question. Donna Cook.
Oh, Donna, go ahead.
I'm sorry, did you, so the salary ranged the $110,000 to the $120,000. And for the 216 days, possibly an extra 4, so say 220 days maximum. We're hiring them for a period not to exceed 3 years. Why would they get raises when this is a contract? To me, it's a contract position. You're hiring them for a specific identified job for a short period of term. Why would this be their contract for 3 years?
This position becomes part of the administrators union group. So if they fall into this group, and that's the that's the reason you have this MOU, is because they become part of that group. So if the admin team accepts a 2% increase, this person would get a 2% increase after year 1, whatever that percentage is. And the range is based upon where I hire them, and that's based on their experience.
So what What kind, and are the other admin people already under a contract so you know what the raises are going to be?
Their contract, I think, ends. Sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head. Do you know that off the top of your head, Mary Kay or Marcia? I think it's you have 2 years left, but I'm not positive.
I think it's 2 years left. Yeah, I think it's
Yeah. 2022?
I think so.
So if the contract ends in 2022,
Mhm. They would be part of that negotiating group for the next contract. And all of those dollars would be accounted for in the grant for that particular position. That makes sense.
when
The position runs till June 30th,
of 2024,
2024.
and when do you anticipate them starting, Phil?
Hopefully as soon as possible. We'll get a posting out pretty quickly. I mean, it would be July 1 is when the earliest this person would start. But we would have to go through a hiring process, obviously.
Can I ask a question? Quick question.
Yes, go ahead, Elena.
Yes. So did I understand that right? I'm sorry if I missed something. That as we hire this person, then we expect to have all our curriculums to be public, available for parents, available for whoever is interested. Do we expect it or no? Or it's still going to be nowhere found, the curriculum?
And you want to speak to that? Anybody on the curriculum team, you can say what I've said.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
nodding my head yes. That's the whole purpose, Elena. We worked with the people who are trying to do it with $1,000 stipend and full-time jobs before they even started doing the curriculum. And we realized it just would not happen that way. So that's why we have this person working on that for 3 years. And yes, the goal is to have everything on the website. Having children in the schools, I see that there is a very good curriculum. There's a very good curriculum in place. It's just not written down or it's not on a website yet. So this is someone who will come and coordinate all the teachers, excuse me, and all the staff and try to get everything down. Donna, one more thing to your comment about professional development. Instruction changes. I think, Phil, weren't you saying that Kristen discovered something really profound about science and reading?
Yeah.
So there's
last
these
couple of years.
changes that happen, and it would be really important for that person if there was a new development to get to professional development, so that number one, it would be in the curriculum, and number two, that person would train the teachers about this change. So I hope that makes that little piece a little clear. Or thank you.
Can I add to that?
Tracy?
Yes, also to add to what Ann was saying is that things are changing, but also every district, I mean, we have 169 towns in Connecticut. Not all of them have their own school system. Some of them are regional, but you're still talking over 100 different districts just in Connecticut. And we all use a different curriculums or curriculum platforms. You know, some schools use Writer's Workshop for writing and others use something totally different. And so you might be coming from a district that doesn't use the system that's in place here in Wellington. And so you might need to have, not that you don't know what you haven't learned it yet. You might just not have learned it in the way that we're using it in Wellington. So there would need to be an opportunity for that as well. Because I have a lot of teacher friends and they all talk about different things sometimes. Sometimes we're talking about the same thing with a different name, but taught a little bit different in a different manner.
It's 100% my expectation though, Lena. I think this is why I presented to the curriculum committee first, is they know that this has been a struggle and we've tried to come up with some really creative solutions to make this happen. And we couldn't do this if we didn't have these funds. I wouldn't advocate for the position because it's expensive. And we'd have to divvy this up between our administrators and figure things out. But this is an expectation I have that, and it's realistic. I think the timeline that we would be, going after would be like 2040 if we didn't.
Thank you.
When Kristen and Erica met with us, they've repeatedly talked about how busy they are and how many hats they wear in our small district, each of them. And curriculum writing takes a lot of time and concentration. And when you're constantly being pulled because you're wearing so many hats and now it's testing season, or you're a classroom teacher as well as writing curriculum, you can't find the time to make the focus. The presentations they showed to us of what a sample unit or just math, one section of math and one section of the reading curriculum and phonics was, I don't know, 50 pages when you get into the lessons for each section within that unit. It was a lot of information, and they're trying to coordinate a lot of different things into that. So they really, having one person in charge of this instead of overtaxing these two individuals who are working a lot already and then feeling guilty because they can't get to our curriculum as fast as we'd like them to. It makes sense to use our money in this fashion. I think the impression the committee was receiving from them.
It's a good idea.
And do we have, sorry, quick, very
No,
quick.
It is a massive job. We have a K-8 system in two buildings. And you have one person trying to put together all of these curriculum with the staff. The staff has a full-time job teaching. They're going to be pretty occupied. And as we've found out, that one of the reasons we're doing this is because the staff either doesn't have the time or the inclination or even an understanding of how to put something together the way we want it to put together. To me, this is just a start. We may get some of the curriculums we want, but I don't know if we're going to get them all in 2 or 3 years.
Going for it, Herb. I'm going for it.
I know it. Elena?
Yeah, but do we have
Another hat. Elena, you're next, and then
sorry. Yeah, thank you. So, but do we have, Phil, do we have a potential ability in our computer system to support, to have all this curriculum downloaded there so it would be available for everyone?
Absolutely. We do.
Thank you.
And one of the problems, as Phil said, is we've had so many changes in education in just 5 years, not even only 10. New science and social studies standards came out 5 years ago. That's a whole different way of teaching science than was taught before that. And now I think their social studies curriculum too is new. Besides the changes that continually happen in reading and writing instruction, and that's not even talking about languages and the specialists with art and music and PE. They're all changing all the time and being required, and then we have to put them together with Common Core.
you're so right. And my experience with this type of thing is once this person finishes with the curriculum and the staff work their heads off putting it together, it'll change. There'll be something new on the horizon.
Yeah, I agree, Herb. But that's where you're poised to make the minor shifts because you've got it in a position to make a minor shift.
No,
When you have to do everything at once, and get everything down, and by the time you write everything down, it's you can't even get approved. It's hard.
I have another question.
go ahead, Donna.
So I'm not disagreeing that there's a need for a curriculum that is cohesive from start to finish, that fills in the holes or makes changes so that everything runs smoothly. But we need to begin with the end in mind, and we still have not yet decided on what the kids are supposed to know by the time they walk out of the schools. So maybe simultaneously, since I'm sure they have to start with the pre-K and work their way up when they're developing, to make sure that it builds properly, that preferably by the time they get to, I don't know, maybe the second grade level, that we would have had a list of, this is what we want our students to be able to do when they walk out the door, versus getting this great curriculum, but it misses the targets on certain things or spends too much time on other things because we haven't told them where they're supposed to end up.
So can I talk to that one?
Laura?
So Donna, what you're actually talking about are the standards. So what we want our students to know and understand at the end of each grade level, that's what's in the Common Core for English and math. That's what's in the next generation science standards for science, and what's in the social studies framework. That's what tells us what we want them to learn. The curriculum is how to get there. It's what materials are we going to use? What are we going to have them read? What investigations are we going to have them do? What larger topics are we going to teach these standards through? So that's already in place. That's been given to us by the state. What we need is the curriculum that is responsive to our students here in Willington. So as I think Tracy was saying, 169 different towns in Connecticut. I know, like, my husband gets frustrated. He's like, why don't we just have one curriculum for Connecticut? And you can have a general curriculum for all of Connecticut, but you want each area to be able to be responsive to the children in your school, in your classroom. So that's why we need to to take those standards and decide how are we going to teach it so that our students do get to those endpoints each year.
So then what's the deal with the portrait of a graduate? Because I thought the portrait of a graduate was to determine what we wanted the kids to know, be able to do by the time they left. So it sounds like it's not necessary if it's already covered by the curriculum.
So the portrait of the graduate is not written into the Common Core. The Common Core standards that I was just had up on my screen while Laura was talking for a minute, those standards are the expectations for academic standards for reading, for craft instruction, number sense for math. They're all of those standards, the national standards, whether it's music or Common Core, whatever it's for, those standards are written there, and the curriculum is written to meet those standards and how we achieve it. The other piece of that is the portrait of the graduate. And some people say that there's the soft skills, the how do we teach grit? How do we teach, a student to be organized? Those are things that then we infuse into our curriculum to make sure the students have those skills. Those are the skills that all the CEOs, when they were, identified the things that the attributes they wanted their new workforce to have that didn't have. Collaboration. If students can't collaborate and they are trying to work in isolation, they weren't going to be successful in those companies. And so they had identified several things. So the portrait of the graduate, that's a piece of this puzzle. I would say the curriculum is the portion we're talking about right now is the academic portion of this.
And aren't they intertwined?
Oh, absolutely. And they will be intertwined for sure. Yeah, because there's going to be stories that teach grit, and we're going to talk about grit, but we have to identify where those things are. The portrait of the graduate work is not there yet to get to the point of where it would be infused in the curriculum, but that would be part of this process over the next few years.
So then we need to put the portrait of a graduate on a little bit more of a priority so that when you're working with this curriculum person, that it can be appropriately interweaved.
You are correct.
Thank
Anne has her hand up, Herb.
Anne?
One other piece that you may have noted on the list is that this person will also be in charge of testing. And by doing that, they will be reviewing the testing, and that'll show us, you mentioned before, that third grade. That's where we would get that data, that and also classroom scores of teachers doing assessments as they're teaching. But so I think that's really important, that this person be in charge of that, be very aware of what skills children need, and then we can then place some emphasis on those skills. Well, everything will be in there, but some we may need to emphasize a little more.
I want to remind everyone that we are discussing the memorandum of agreement.
Kind of off of it.
We have a motion on the floor relative to the agreement between the Wellington Board of Education and the Wellington Public School Administrators Association. This is like an addendum to the contract.
Correct.
Are we ready to vote on this memorandum? Okay, I guess we are. All those in favor of the memorandum of agreement signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Abstentions?
Aye.
Elena is abstaining. The motion passes. And we'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the proposed social and emotional learning curriculum. Second step.
Correct. So you know that SEL, social emotional learning, has been a focus for us for the past few years. This is obviously connected to bringing the community health group as well. We had a district SEL committee. They began some work this past year there was a committee prior to, but there was a group that we brought in this year to review current practices in district. Obviously COVID really pushed this for us to have to do this earlier for students. We were looking to have our staff participate in social emotional training this year in PD, and they did. And we were getting feedback from staff about the types of programs and things that they wanted to see in a program for our students. And this committee did a bunch of research on social emotional curriculums that were out there and ones that would best meet the needs of our school community. We started with quite a long list of programs of curricula that you could buy. We were looking for something that was research-based, that wasn't just brand new, something that had some history. And we whittled the list down to 3 programs, and Marcia McGinley was what I'll call the chair of this committee. She was driving this work. And upon completion of the study, the committee unanimously determined that second step, that curriculum was the one that met our district learning needs the best. And this program does several things. Number one, it's an online program that we would do. We wouldn't do the kits. It would be digital. It's show a video and the discussion, but it meets the CASEL standards. And the CASEL standards are the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. It's like the gold standard for SEL. Everything is compared to the CASEL standards. And this curriculum meets the CASEL standards. This program will connect to Portrait of a Graduate. That was important to us. The things that we saw in here will definitely connect to Portrait of a Graduate. It provides professional development for our staff. So if we have a new teacher come in and we had brought someone in for PD for a program, they were out of luck. It was a team training. This program, it's built into the technology so they can watch videos and rewatch videos and get the training. There's a scope and sequence that meets student needs. I'm glad to show that to you tonight if you'd like to see it. It offers best practice as far as the instructional approaches, and it's multisensory. So it's there's some exercise, there's some dialogue and conversation and written reflection. It's a balance of a lot of different things, and it was appropriate. We wanted a curriculum that was going to span our schools, that was going to go pre-K through 8th grade, and meet the needs of our schools. And the elementary program looks more elementary, and the middle school program looks more middle school, but it's the same language, and it goes through that scope and sequence all the way through 8th grade. The other piece that we liked about this program is that it offers some family engagement, and we think that's critical. Families need to understand the things that we're trying to accomplish in school and the lessons that we're trying to teach, and how can they reinforce at home. And so there was a piece to this program as well. So again, this recommendation was unanimous. The committee would like to formally request the board approve the second step program. And again, it's digital as the district SEL program. It would be entirely funded by ESSER 2 funds, the grants. No local funds would be used, and the implementation would start in the fall of next school year. And I just have to say, look, I pushed my staff pretty hard, and I pushed my administrators pretty hard, and they really stepped up. And this is really an important piece to them, and it's important to our staff. People don't always agree with some of the decisions that you make. This is one of those decisions where we have teachers, an army behind us saying, let's do this. And if they would have, I slowed this process down, I'm not going to lie, because I wanted to make sure they were thorough about it. But they would have done this in September if they could have. And they did a really comprehensive process. They looked at a lot of different approaches, what would be best for our kids. And I think they're proud of what their recommendation is, and they stand by their recommendation. I just, commend them for their work around this.
Phil, is there any way we can get additional information on this curriculum?
So I can share with you.
All we have now is what you've said, and there's a proposed social emotional learning, and the committee looked at it. I'm not ready to vote on this yet.
So I'm kind of following your curriculum process of what you typically do, which is the curriculum, or the committee would review it. I'm just trying to find my screen. Give me 1 second. Let me just share this. So this is the middle school scope and sequence, or sorry, this is this is grade 6. So these are the units. So you're looking at mindset and goals.
I can't read it on my computer. This is an old computer, and it doesn't, the print is so small I can't see it.
I was just going to share what's there. So it just talks about what the CASEL competencies are, and the units are consistent across. So mindset and goals, you see recognizing bullying and harassment, the thoughts, emotions, and decisions. So these are the units that the students would go through, and it's scripted to a degree for our staff, but they also have expansion lessons that they could go further if they wanted to. And so it does the same thing in kindergarten. So you'll see growth mindset and goal setting, emotion management, and it goes through all of the competencies that it hits for CASEL through this. This curriculum is all online, and the scope and sequence is all online. And you could take the time. I can send you these links so you can see. You can't see everything because you don't get to see everything until you buy it. But we did, I don't know, let me just stop sharing for a second. Is Marcia still there? Marcia, do you want to speak to the staff and their ability to, the committee that was there, their ability to test out the program and run some lessons?
Sure, yeah. We spent time meeting with Second Step representatives along with some other curriculum representatives. Second Step was one that we identified that we wanted to really dig deeper into. So we were able to get free access for a month to the curriculum. Not the whole curriculum, but a good portion of it. And we had staff have the ability to be able to pilot some of the lessons within their classrooms, which was extremely positively well received by the students, and also well received by the staff that were able to pilot it. They felt that the lessons were very engageable, easy to use, and they noticed that the students were able to transfer their learning into different parts of their day. One of the staff teachers gave an example, if I remember correctly. He had taught the lesson, and then the kids were, I believe, having another lesson. I can't remember where it was, but another lesson, and the student referred to what he was taught in the second step lesson. So he was able to transfer his learning into real life, was what we want for our students. So we had some really great feedback from the teachers who were able to pilot some of these lessons.
Anybody from the curriculum committee want to jump in? Yeah, Tracy.
Yeah, well, I mean, Marcia did a presentation for us, as well as we had an opportunity to hear from one of the teacher who piloted the program and asked questions. And they went through a pretty extensive process. This program met all of the criteria that the committee had, that the whole committee had come up with, as far as connecting to Portrait of a Graduate and our other curriculums and best practices, user-friendly. It had family engagement, all the scope and sequence. We were able to see some sample lessons and videos, and they did their homework, and I highly, I would be ready to vote, because it seems as if this is the program that's going to help with the Tier 1 intervention that we've been talking about all year for social emotional learning.
Elena has her hand up. Herb.
Elena?
Yes, Elena Testa. Tell you the truth, I'm very uncomfortable to vote for something which I've never seen. I know the curriculum committee had a chance to hear, to look at it, but I think it's not enough just 3 people to know, and the rest of us just wholeheartedly follow and vote for something which we have no idea. So I would appreciate if we beforehand, if we have a chance to look at that material, even if it is a short version of it. So as you said, Phil, if you can send us all links, so we will be diligently looking at it. And for now to vote, I think it would be a very wrong thing, because for me particularly, I cannot vote on something like this. I have no idea what it is. I'm sorry.
I'm just a little confused, because it feels like on other situations when there's been a program that went through the finance committee, we took your opinions, and I understand this is social emotional learning, but this is a research-based program that has been studied extensively by our staff that we trust. I trust our staff to choose something that is effective, and I also trust that our committee and administrators have looked at it. And I understand that you want to see it. I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity. If they want to put this into practice in August, Bill, would there be time for us to be able to put this in place if we didn't vote until July?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I feel like there's a trust issue here, that I'm feeling some distrust in the system that has worked for other processes, but it's not working for this for some reason. And I don't understand that part of it. And maybe that's just me being super sensitive, but
Well, I think you're stating your position on this pretty well, but I think that any curriculum, whether it's this one or another curriculum, the board should be able to look at it and have something tangible to see. It makes sense. In the past, that's what we've done. So it's not unusual.
Anne has her hand up. Herb.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Herb. I have a suggestion. Would it be possible for whichever board members were interested to watch the recording of our curriculum meeting, where the teachers and Marcia and Mary Kay all talked about the program? So they would have the same exposure to the program as we did.
Are you asking me?
Yeah, I'm just making that suggestion. That would be a way to put us all, we will all have seen the same thing. So
I would really love it. I would appreciate if we would have the chance. And plus, all our committee meetings, I think they are recorded. So if they are downloaded, then I will be the first one to watch it.
They're
I'm
all on
sorry I
YouTube.
missed it and not prepared today.
Yep, they're all on YouTube.
Okay.
Can you send me the link so that I know what I'm looking for?
Yeah, the link for the particular for them, so we wouldn't, find anything.
Right, but for
double.
the meeting that Ann was at, part of my challenge is, as a non-professional educator, I don't know what some of these things mean. And in light of other things I see in the world, some of them are kind of scary. So I'm in the process of learning what social emotional learning really means, and getting a little bit of an understanding so that I can ask appropriate questions or feel comfortable with what I'm seeing. So.
Yeah, Michelle has her hand up.
So, Michelle?
Just one more point of information for people to consider is that Second Step is the most widely used SEL curriculum in the state of Connecticut by and large. It's been used all over the state in districts of large and small, as well as in summer camps and after-school programs.
Thank you for sharing that,
Thank you,
Michelle. I
Michelle.
appreciate it.
Donna, you have a question?
No, I was thanking Michelle for sharing
Okay.
that information because it helps.
Okay, so Phil, is there any reason we can't postpone this? Not take any action on it, but take action at the next meeting, one way or the other?
I'm just going to check with Marcia. I don't believe so, because I don't think it's going to impact our rollout. I think if you bypass this in July, you might see some not so happy faces. But I think that you'd have a month basically to watch the curriculum committee meeting on YouTube. We can get you the links to the scope and sequence to see what's on their website. Anything else you would share, Marcia? Or do you think the timeline's impacted?
I think the piece that will be impacted is we just need time to be able to make sure that we're planning professional development appropriately. So we want to make sure that we have enough time to do that because that is very important for an effective rollout. I would also suggest that, we have a short video that would be important for those who are not as familiar with social emotional learning to learn about that. So I think if we could include that very short, I think it's a 3-minute video. We did try to show it in the committee meeting, but I know we were having some audio problems. I think that's important. I think it's also very important to note that social emotional learning right now is a primary focus, not only of our district, but of the state of Connecticut. And I would even say expanding even beyond the state of Connecticut for students who are, pre-K through 12th grade right now. This is a top priority. So I feel that this is very, very important. And I think it's important for the committee to know that these SEL are made up of staff members who volunteered their time to be on the committee. And it was probably one of the most well-received committees that I've been involved in. It spanned from not only to administrators, to teachers, to related services staff, to counselors. So this was something that is extremely important for our staff. They feel that our students really need to have a curriculum with a scope and sequence and a common language that spans pre-K through 8th grade. Social emotional learning is top priority and so important right now. And, if we don't have students who are socially and emotionally available to learn, then, it is challenging for us to be able to meet those academic goals. So I just say that to have that thought in mind as you're going through this process.
Thank you, Marcia. Yeah. Words
One
are
other-
spoken.
One
Michelle?
other recommendation for a resource for the team is the Castle website. It's pretty big, so I'd narrow down and find the section specifically about what is SEL rather than some of the other district guides that are, I don't know, phone books worth of material.
I have that exact link. I'll send right to it. And I think the wheel is on that page too, right? I think the wheel's right there.
Yeah.
Yep, I can do that.
Thank you.
Yep, no problem. And ask if you have questions along the way over the next month that you can't find something or you want more information on something, just ask and we can try and help locate it.
Okay, Phil, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
The other item, that's H, that's the feedback on the Wellington plan for continuity of services. I'm just going to share my screen here. Make it so I can see you all. You can all see my screen, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see that.
So this is a new version of our reopening plan, even though I've joked about this, that we were open all year long. So it's kind of a silly thing, but I'm going to take a few minutes. I just want to breeze through some of the highlights of this reopening plan. It's called the Continuity Services Plan. This is a requirement by the state. The reopening committee met yesterday to review this. A lot of the legwork was already done for them. One, because some of it's just mandated. We have to do certain things, and other things are the way we've done them this year, and they've worked very well. It's allowed us to stay open. This is a requirement to turn in with our ESSER 3 funds. This actually has to be on our website by the end of this month. It can still be in draft form and it can still change as we get updated information, but it's a requirement that we have to post it, which is why we've been working on it. So again, as new information becomes available, we'll update it. This plan is really written with two prongs, and prong one is the district response during a time of little or no community transmission of COVID-19. The second prong, as you can imagine, is our response during substantial community transmission. I hope we don't go back there, but that's the way this plan is written. There's no more middle ground. We had our last plan had a quote unquote hybrid section. We removed that. We're small. We believe we can either be open with restrictions. We can be open with tight restrictions, or we could be remote. And so we didn't really feel like we needed that middle ground. I'm just going to scroll through some of this, and I'm going to give you access to this plan as well, because this literally is just hot off the press. We've been plugging along at this. If you have feedback on it, there may be spelling errors in this still, because it's still being developed. But I want to scroll through some of the bigger items that are in here for you. And I'm just going to get to page 9. This plan has to be reviewed every 6 months as part of the grant requirement. So just to give you a setup, so this is kind of the layout, and here's like to give you the really clear examples. Little or no community transmission. Students are sitting 3 feet apart in class. Minimum, they can sit facing each other when there's little or no community transmission. When it's substantial, they all have to be facing the same direction. That's what we're doing right now through the end of the year. And this, desks can be together as long as their students are sitting 3 feet apart, so they could face each other, or they could do pods with a space. They can figure those things out. Teachers were really creative on how they set up their rooms. Whereas desks would be their own island if there's significant community transmission. And there's no number tied to this, because this could be specifically Wellington. This could be a class. Next year, we don't anticipate we'll be starting with cohorting. Students specifically in the middle school will be changing classes. They'll be in different groups during the day, but Mary Kay gets to do 2 schedules. Marcia gets to do 2 schedules, because if we have an outbreak at some point and we have to cohort, they have to have a plan to do that. So that means the teachers would move classrooms like we're doing right now, not the students. So again, some simple examples: lockers are used, lockers are not used, things like that, or lockers are used with social distancing and scheduling. Things like the high touch surfaces are cleaned multiple times a day or several times a day. Just things like that. Access to the building is a big one. Right now, we have no real volunteers in our buildings. and we're kind of meeting delivery people at the door, the buildings would be open next year. Recreation would be able to use the space. If we have an outbreak, we go back to sealed up. Parent meetings are through Zoom again, or district meetings are through Zoom. So the access to the buildings is a big one. And this will go through, like, this has all the AC requirements that we're doing right now. This is all required by DPH. Can you run an AC unit when if it doesn't have a filter, if you can't control it, it can't blow over numerous people? There's all sorts of requirements that we're following right now, and thus the early dismissals. As far as like things like food services, they would be eating lunch in the cafeteria, and they'd be sitting zigzag, and they'd have shields up. If we have substantial community transmission, they're eating back in their classrooms again, because they're separated. So, it's just some examples that I wanted to fire through. There's, some of the things, we'll go back to a typical drop-off protocol in prior years where students can walk their child to the door, or parents can walk their child to the door. Right now, it's 3 lines at center school, and we bring the children to them, and the line pulls up. Very efficient, but it's not necessary if we're not in substantial community transmission. So this just basically spells out all of those things. I will tell you the one section that really remained the same is the health section. The nurses are not going to see a significant change in their protocols. We're still going to be required to contact trace. We're still going to be required to have an isolation room. We're still going to be required to have additional PPE. I don't know about masking yet. It's too early to know. It could be that they say no masks for middle school and yes, masks for elementary. We don't know that yet, but we will adjust as we go. But all of the protocols in here that we've been operating on have gone very well, and they're appropriate whether we're in high transmission time or low transmission time. And so they will follow all the same protocols, whether it's staff illness, mask protocols, if they have to, what they're monitoring. And all of this obviously will go out to parents. We'll get some feedback on this. I plan on next week, I have to post this. It's part of my job tomorrow. I will be doing a staff Zoom for this plan just to discuss and get some of their feedback. And I'll also be doing this with families on Monday night next week. So anybody that wants to come and get some of the information and ask questions and provide feedback, we'll be able to do that. The QR codes outside of classrooms, we'll maintain that. That's how we know who's in a classroom right now. They just use their phone, or they can sign the chart on the wall. If we have a positive case and I'm contact tracing, I'm looking at these QR code data to see who is in the room. So again, I just wanted to give you a sense tonight of what we're doing. Honestly, I would love to never, ever see this chart again, but it is exactly how we are operating right now. When we're contact tracing, when we have questions for parents, this is what we're doing. I will also tell you that we are still currently one of the only districts that went to a 7-day potential quarantine, and it's worked very well for us. So if we have someone right now that has a key symptom of COVID-19, and the answers, if you go down to this, no, are they a close contact? Yes. Well, they are allowed to, with a negative test after the 5th day, to return after 7 days of quarantine. Very few districts are doing that. And to be honest with you, I think others are missing the boat in this area, because they're seeing that they're not seeing the transmission in schools with the masks, those close contacts, and we're getting those kids back to school faster. I think parents appreciate that as well. So this is what we a little different that other districts are not doing. Again, it's got the student expectations, adult expectations, the class cancellation protocols that we've been following all along, and the collaboration with Eastern Highlands, and then the instructional pieces. It's got a portion of special ed. It talks about on-campus learning. This is a biggie. At this point in time, I do not believe there's going to be any legislation that allows for remote instruction for pre-K through 8th grade. They are looking at high school, or they'll make it a district choice. We will not have remote instruction if you know, unless it's a medical diagnosis and they need it, or we place someone out on quarantine. And Stevens is out on quarantine. We place him out on quarantine because he's a close contact. We really need to provide that student an education. But I've said all along, the intent of the remote instruction was not to allow Griffin Stevens and his family to fly to Aruba and access his curriculum from the beach. It is a lot of work on our teachers. And so the point here is that remote instruction will not be provided unless it's quarantine or a medical diagnosis. And then obviously if we go fully remote, it would be remote. The question I still haven't seen, and Michelle, I don't know if you've seen anything in the legislation about snow days. I'm still waiting to hear about that because there's potential that districts will be able to allow remote instruction on a snow day if they so choose.
Not seen anything in the legislation either way yet.
Okay. So again, it just goes into some of the details about the cohorts and the materials, and how we're implementing, you know, general music and instrumental music and all the things. It's got the details in the things that we've been doing this year. So it's a comprehensive plan. There's a lot of details. We still have a lot more feedback to get from people. We got this, I'm going to say the state template was like last week. We haven't had this for very long. And so we didn't follow the state template. We used what we've had, and we've modified this because it's comprehensive, and we've taken out things. This is something that we decided to take out yesterday, that it didn't make sense to have family members if they're twins in the same classroom. It didn't matter. There's conversation around that. So I just wanted to give you a quick snapshot of what's in here, and I'll share the link for this for you. And then the last piece is that this plan is then also tied to your ESSER 3 funds. I'll be writing some goals around this. There's a kind of a draft in here. We have to tie it to the ESSA, which is the what your outcomes are, and it's tied to your SBAC scores. We'll have an SBAC score in there, and so there will be some goals that I'll show you more next month that are tied to your ESSER 3 funding application. A crash course
You
continuity of services plan.
Around there, Phil, I don't know where I would start to ask you a question, but maybe I should ask you one question that, two questions really, that you can answer quickly. The parents, they're going to be informed, or will they get a copy of the protocol?
Yeah, so I'll have my Zoom next Monday, and we're going to have it on the website before it's the 23rd or 24th of this month. I'm going to put it on and just make it very clear it's a draft, because I'd rather people look at it and ask questions than just get presentations, because just like you're seeing this for the first time, and it's a ton of information. A lot of it I think we probably won't change because it's what's worked this year. But I think the feedback is really important, and you know, some ideas that have come up have been things we have changed, and we want to hear that feedback.
Well, I know your plan is, and the protocol is a little different, but we have some tents that we put quite a bit of money into.
Correct.
Are they, do you think they'll be utilized at all, or?
So honestly, the big question will be, are there going to be masks? Is there going to be a mask requirement next year? That is a huge question. New York tried to dump a quick change on Friday of last week to change it for no masks for staff or students on Monday. And there was a quick reversal as CDC jumped in.
Yeah.
So if there is a mask requirement, I think we need to continue having mask breaks. If there is no mask requirement, then I don't see the need for the tents to be out there, unless there's some instructional purpose that our administrators say, hey, we'd love to have this tent over here and create an outdoor learning space. Then I think we have them, we use them. But the carports will remain. It's a good shaded space for people. They can still use it for outdoor education. They're way more durable, obviously, than our tents. But it's all about whether we're going to have mask breaks or not.
Okay, good. Any other comments or questions? Okay. I don't think we need action on that, do we, Phil? That's it.
Nope.
Administrative. Okay, anything else? Any other new business? Hearing none, we'll move along to present to speak. Do we have anyone out there who'd like to ask a question or make a statement?
Can I ask a question or make a statement? Do I have to be a board member or?
Nope, you're good, Lisa. Just identify yourself first.
Okay, I'm Lisa Eaton. I have 2 children in Wellington school systems. I live at 38 Timber Lane. So first off, I want to say thank you to all of you because I know it's been a really long year. So yay, we've made it this far. So my son, this was his first year at Hall Memorial. And I noticed that with him, there seemed to be, he would report to me many more behavioral issues and social emotional issues from other students than I've heard in the past. And so that's when I got more interested in terms of what the Board of Ed was doing to support teachers and to support administrators and providing resources for these students. And so I've gone back and I've looked at the videos from the Board of Ed and I've read the minutes from Board of Ed meetings. And what I've noticed is among some Board of Ed members, there just seems to be stonewalling or delaying or a general resentment towards moving things along that support social and emotional health. And it can be a little bit frustrating as a parent who has kids who are going through this right now. So I just want to say that, you know, as a parent, I'm paying attention, and I think other parents are starting to pay more and more attention. And I just hope that y'all move these things along because it affects real people and it, you know, it affects our children and it affects our experiences all around. And sometimes when things are delayed, it doesn't seem to make sense. So anyways, thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else, Phil?
Can I
Sorry.
speak to?
Yep, go ahead, Sarah.
Thanks. So I'm Sarah Anderson. I also have 2 children, one in Center and one in Hull School. And I was disappointed tonight about the lack of action on the social emotional learning. I think there was a strong case made by those staff members and the folks on the committee for social emotional learning. I think our kids need it, especially after COVID and the experience they've had in this past year. And I sincerely hope and urge the board to take action on that next month so that we can move forward and not only take action, but to take action in a positive direction for that work.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
Anybody else who's not on camera, you have the ability to unmute right now. There's only a few. Last chance. Anybody not on camera, you can unmute. Sorry, I'm smiling because my alarm at my building might go off. So if you see me run, I just got a message that someone set the alarm and realized I'm still here. So
Okay.
I think that's it, Herb.
Any other parents want to say a few words?
I don't see anybody else jumping on or raising their hand.
Okay, if not, we'll move on to board comments. Well, the only comment I can say is I want to thank the retirees who are retiring this year for their service to the Wellington Public Schools. Some of them have been here for a long time, over 30 years perhaps. Also, it looks like graduation is in place, and it's going to be interesting to see how that turns out. I hope we have good weather and it's a good location. It's the first time I think we've had an outdoor graduation. So that'll be a first. I don't know how what referendum came out, but I assume and hope that the budget passed.
I just heard that it both passed. I just got a text message.
Okay. Also, I want to thank you, Phil, on the work on the roof and the building that's going on. It's kind of in a turmoil a little bit, but I think things will work out if we're patient. You know, we have a long way to go with that anyway, and I'm sure that we'll be able to bring the everything around, and we'll be in line with what the state wants and what we want. Also, I want to remind everyone that we have a board retreat next week. It's either the 15th or 16th.
15th.
It's the 15th. 15th. Okay. And also there's another meeting on June 16th. And I believe it's an open meeting at that time. I think where the building committee is offering the meeting under Zoom, that even though we have more than 4 members of the board present at that meeting, it's okay to follow through on that. And I guess Costa or Diamantis, is that his name? Will be there, and he'll be listening to public and board members and the building committee on the construction of the roof and the new building. Tracy, you're next.
Okay, I'll just reiterate what's been said already. But I also would like to thank the faculty and staff that were on the SEL committee, social emotional learning committee, for all of their work and efforts, and for the parents who came forward to speak tonight. And to also mention, with our curriculum, just because we don't have a curriculum that's online, we have a curriculum in place that is quality, and it's already happening in our schools. It just hasn't been put on paper or in the computer yet. So the job of this person who takes over the job, becomes our new curriculum coordinator, will help us to refine that curriculum to meet the standards that are in place in current research, and then help us to get it on paper for our teachers currently teaching and any new staff, as well as for the public to see all the good things we already are doing and what we're doing to stay up with 21st century learning and keep and continue to make Wellington's quality schools.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Okay, Laura? Laura, can you hear me?
She's frozen.
Yeah.
I can't see her, so
Why don't you move on and come back to her?
okay. Misha, we'll go with you then.
Sure. So I would also like to congratulate Lynn Philippi for a wonderful career and all of her dedicated service to the students and families in Wellington. She'll surely be missed, but we also want to wish the best for the others that are leaving us, including our 8th graders that are going to move on to broader fields. So it's an exciting time of year, and I'm sure also one that's bittersweet as people come and go in our lives. So and with that, I'll reiterate the things that Tracy said. And I see that Laura is back. So.
Okay, Laura.
But you're muted, Laura.
We're working on board comments.
There we go. Yes. Yeah. My internet has just been kind of in and out all night. And right then it went completely out. Yeah, so I definitely, wanted to thank the three people who are retiring, Andrew, Sarah, and Lynn. And as she said, I mean, Lynn has been over, I think it's 31 years in the school. So that's just wonderful. Also really want to thank the committee working on the social emotional learning curriculum. I was in the committee meeting and was very impressed by the presentation and especially by the fact that the staff was asking for it and buying in, because I have been part of these types of curriculums and advisory periods in 3 different states and different schools. And I have found that when the staff, when it's imposed on the staff, it doesn't really work. But if staff is asking for it, that just shows you how important it is. And that's one of the most important things about it working. And then I am really looking forward to the 8th grade promotion. I can't tell you how excited I am to come back to Hull, even if it's outside, it's okay. I left in 2014. And so I haven't been to an 8th grade graduation since 2014. So I'm very excited. That's it.
Thank you, Laura. Elena?
Well, I join with everyone who said good words towards those who retired and faithfully served and worked in our town. I hope they were happy working in our town. But first of all, I would like to wish everyone to have a great summer. The children, the teachers, of course, the whole families, not just children, but the parents. It was a challenging year and everyone deserves excellent rest. So that's my greatest wish to everyone, to get the rest and restoration and strengthening on every level for everyone in our town and in our kids. It's our kids. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Anne?
I'd like to thank Lynn and Sarah and Andrew for their time and wishing Andrew luck in New York City. That sounds exciting. I also want to encourage everyone, board members, parents, to come to the meeting on Wednesday, the 16th at 6:30. I think this is a pivotal step in our process to discuss the possibility of building a new school. So I think we're going to learn a lot at this meeting, and I would really encourage everyone to attend. Also, I'd like to congratulate the 4th graders and the 8th graders as they transition on to their new beginnings, and wish them all luck and hope that, and also once again to thank the teachers, the administration, Phil, everyone for making this year happen. We were really so very fortunate that we missed a few things, but those are minimal compared to what we were able to do that was normal. So thank you all so much.
Thank you, Anne. Donna, you're next.
I think I would like to add that for those students that are graduating from our school and moving on to E.O. Smith or whatever their next step is, that I wish them all the best in the next season of their life. I would love it if they would drop a note at some point in time and let us know what they appreciated learning at our school and what they wished they had learned at our school, so that we can help the next group be better prepared for their next step in the journey. And thank you to everybody, because the staff worked hard, the teachers worked hard, the parents worked hard, the students worked hard, the community worked hard. It's just been a very challenging time, and I'm just thankful that Willington was able to remain basically open, and that the kids were able to attend in person. And I think that that was a real blessing to our community and to our families. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Donna, and thank you everyone for your very positive words tonight. Under board comments. Any other comments that you'd like to make before we move on? I guess not. We'll move on to old business then. And I will move that we go into executive session to discuss the superintendent's evaluation.
Yep, so we're gonna just dump
And
everybody else out of here.
We're not going to invite you in to this meeting, Phil.
That's fine. I'm just gonna get everybody else out. Michelle, do you want to be a co-host? To do
Yeah,
this?
if you make me the co-host, then it won't disappear when you stop. When you.
Yep.
And we take a couple minute break. I am going to remove myself from the room to use the restroom.
Okay. We are now in executive session.
Not yet, not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, I want to do that. Sorry, Don Naderno, I'm dumping you. Remove Sarah Jean. Remove Doris Bacon. Thanks, Doris. Okay, so I see Michelle, Donna, Herb, Laura, Ann, Tracy, and Lena.
Is there a process for us if we decided we wanted to invite Phil back in? Technically, what we would have to do?
So I think what you can do, Michelle, is
Mhm.
I'll just hang out here if you want. If you put me in the waiting room and you lock the meeting, you can just unlock the meeting when you want me back and just text me and just let me back in the meeting. And yeah, I'll be sitting at my other computer. I'll just leave my camera open. Does that make sense?
Right, I can't, I don't know if I'm unable to put you in the waiting room as co-host.
Could he log back on? And would that put him in the waiting room?
Let's try this.
Could log out and log back in.
And
How about,
okay,
how about that? I just made you the host.
that helps.
It's still going to record, so you should be
Right,
able
I'm just,
I have returned to the room.
yes, I can put you in the waiting room now. That was the difference. Okay.
So I think you have the recording option right now. So you just gonna want to pause your recording.
Yep.
And
Okay.
then you can put me in the waiting room, and then just when you want me back, put me back into the meeting and just holler and I'll be right
Okay.
over there.
Got it. Okay, so I'm gonna pause. Okay.
Okay, we're out of executive session, back in regular session, and we're addressing the superintendent's evaluation and contract.
So I'd like to make a motion that we accept the contract changes as recommended, that extends the superintendent's contract for 1 more year and includes a salary increase of 2.75%.
I'll second it.
Not sure who did that.
Okay. I guess the motion sounds okay.
Joe, what year does that go through, please?
Yeah, it goes
2024, it's 3 more years.
2024. You think that
2
should
more
be?
years. You said 1 more year. That's
1 more year on the constant contract, so 3 years through 2020.
Year two.
You breathe. It's okay.
I should have said beyond the current contract, but you're right.
Okay, any other modifications to the motion? Michelle, you're all set? And Ann, you seconded?
And Laura, us
Any
together.
further
And
discussion?
Tracy.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? The motion is passed, and we have taken care of that. Very good.
you.
Okay, are we ready to move to adjourn?
Anything else? For the good of the order? Okay. And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Michelle? You made a motion? Donna?
Yes,
Are you seconding?
yes, I am. I want to go celebrate my anniversary.
Okay.
thank you.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Abstentions? Okay, very good. Good group.
Thanks all. Have a great night.
Bye, everyone.
Okay, good night.